Okay, gentlemen, you are live.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the April 12th, 2022 meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, gentlemen, first thing we have on our agenda are our minutes. Do we have any additions, corrections?
I do not.
No, I don't either.
I move we accept the proceedings of the Board of County Commissioners of Montezuma County, April 5th, 2022.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the proceedings of the Board of Commissioners, Montezuma County for April 5th, 2022. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, next up is planning. Must have been a slow week, we only have 2 items.
We gave you most of it last week.
Yeah, yes, we did.
So the first item we have is signing of the high-impact permit, special use permit for Lighthouse BaptistChurch that was approved.
Okay. Do you have a special pen, or can I use mine?
You can just use original pen.
Okay,
Okay, our next item is a setback variance application by Pauline and Ruben Jasso. So this property is up just west of Summit Lake. It's in Summit Lake West Unit 1 subdivision. And they are requesting a setback variance for an accessory mobile home to be put on the property.
is that, do you have any other picture, Shaq, or that's kind of,
That's currently the only picture we have.
okay. Is there no other place on that property? I realize it looks like a triangle, but it also looks like it's pretty wide in the front, is that? I mean,
There's currently
Ti-
a house located over front, so that's where the main house is.
And then there's a septic, the
Right.
leach field.
Right, I can see that.
Yeah, that's the leach field up there,
Mm-hmm.
and then, yeah, so that's where the house would go. If you see the image, that's
Where it's all
where it
graded
would
there.
go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Don did suggest we get a signature from our neighbors, but we were out of town yesterday, so we didn't get a chance to do that. But I don't think there's going to be a problem because they both know what's going on.
So a non-opposition letter
Yeah,
from both
correct.
sides?
Yes,
We-
both neighbors are aware of what we're doing. We were out of town yesterday, so we didn't get the email until late last night. So we'll go to the neighbor's house here in the next day or two and get those signatures.
Yeah, it's going to be about 15-foot setback instead of 30-foot setback is what we're requesting.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. So it's 15 foot either side. instead of the 30.
Correct.
Gentlemen?
I don't have any questions.
My only question is, typically with the non-opposition letter, it's better to move forward with those in hand instead of saying that we can get them. I mean, I'm not doubting that you can get them. It's just on the backside, if somebody comes back and says, well,
Yeah, I get you.
so is there, I guess my only question is there, would another week hurt
No,
to postpone this a week?
Wait another week.
yeah,
That
just-
was gonna be our
Just to see those
recommendation,
non-opposition letters?
yeah.
Because obviously, that's your neighbors on both sides. And if you've already talked to them, I applaud you for that. It seems like nobody wants to go talk to their neighbors anymore, which is a good thing. But with the non-opposition letter, it just shows us that that conversation really has been had,
Yes.
and that we actually have that in writing, and then it's a lot easier to move forward with something.
Okay, yeah. we
So,
can do
but
next
that's just one commissioner talking.
No,
I still
that's-
have somebody to the left and the right of me. Decisions are made by 3.
Okay. I mean, we certainly can wait another week if that's what makes you feel more comfortable and we can get the letter signed.
We have room on the agenda for planning next week.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We don't have public hearings scheduled.
How much distance is there from the back of that house to where they intend to set this?
Oh, from
I mean, the residence, it's already there.
It's probably about 100 yards.
Yeah. You
Oh,
can
not 100
see
yards,
it,
sorry,
the
50 yards.
slope. I mean, it's a slope. Reason why we went this way is because the grading was much easier for them to level the property that way than to go a long way. And then we have, as you can see, that slope and it continues down. So it would be a lot of dirt that we would have had to bring in to make the property, lay it the other way. That's why we went this way, because it was almost already graded and flattened.
We'd also have to remove a lot of trees if we did it the other way.
Yeah, there's a lot of tree removal
Which
we would
would-
have to do if we do it long way.
So a couple things. The non-opposition letters certainly aren't required, but that certainly is a component that we can look at and look for. And I think it makes sense to look at those because that certainly can inform. I think the thing to think about in any of these variances is how is this one different than any other? And then so just so the commission understands, I mean, in this case, obviously, as the landowner said, it's difficult to bring the dirt up. We're gonna be faced with others that same way. And
Right.
so, just keep it in mind that, if we approve this one based on it's difficult to build on that grade, we may run into others. And so, just something for the commission to think about when you approve or deny this, that, consistency is really the key as we move through these. And so if we do it this way this time, we've got to do it this way next time.
So I guess what's the criteria that we use for difficulty? Because in the term difficulty can be, I mean, that's a subjective term.
Well, and it's,
Difficulty could be difficult for, I mean, there's a whole bunch of different difficulties out there right now. So
well,
subjectivity is what I like to take out of things, and,
and unfortunately, in the land use code with variances, there is a lot of subjectivity. I mean, there's nothing that says, this is defined as difficult, this is not defined as difficult. Rather, I think what you need to look at is consistency. Are you gonna,
and that's why I'm looking at the non-opposition letter.
Yep.
Because that tells me that they have talked to their neighbors, instead of saying, well, yeah, we've talked to our neighbors, but then not really ever having done that.
I think that
So,
makes sense.
For
So-
me, they live there and they live with their neighbors. They have to be a good neighbor, and that makes it more palatable to me.
Yep.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand.
Yeah, no, and I'm not saying
Yeah.
saying one way or the other, just,
Shaq, can you scroll back up?
What's behind there?
Right there. Yeah, there's no roads, so we don't have any line of sight visuals on there for roadways. Access is defined, so yeah.
So if they've already talked to their neighbors, and I get it, that's why I say, when I read these, and that difficult term comes into a variance, well, what is difficult?
Yeah. Well, and this property certainly is a unique shape as well. I mean, if you look at how it closes off that way, that's something that's probably not completely typical of a lot of the properties we look at. So that may be a way to distinguish it as well.
Right, and that's why I'm going down the road that I am, because somebody would say, well, turn your home the opposite direction, and then you meet all the land use code, which there again, that's not difficult. Just rotate it. And then you meet the criteria of the land use code. So what's in front of us today is to say, well, okay, I don't want to do that because it's difficult for me.
Correct.
So,
And the other thing about rotating it is it would actually, we would have to clear all the trees that are in our neighbor's view of the house. So
I understand that, but,
it's just.
you know, every neighbor's gonna come in here and say, not in my backyard, the NIMBYs are alive and well, because they don't want anything close or not. That's what I'm saying. If you've already talked to your neighbors and you've been a good neighbor, then a non-opposition letter is very easy to hand
Oh,
to
yeah.
us. And then I can live with that, because otherwise, it would be real easy to turn it the opposite direction, in my opinion, from looking at your landscape. Yeah, you're gonna lose a few trees, but losing a few trees doesn't mean that it's difficult.
Yeah.
So-
I was talking about the neighbor, like, right now, the neighbor cannot see our house. If we put it the other way, it'd be clear view to our house, so,
Right,
yeah.
And-
Just thinking about the neighbor.
sure. So, I guess,
So
my opinion would, I mean, we can move forward if you guys wanna move
Let's
forward, but.
just
I
wait till
will
next week and get the non-opposition letters in hand,
Okay.
and it cleans it up real well.
All right,
Yeah.
Okay.
and I apologize, but
Do you think there'll be an issue if we are able to obtain that? Okay.
I don't anticipate an issue, is all it does is it says, yes, we've worked with our neighbors on both sides of us. They are aware, and here's a letter saying that they are aware, and then it's, because on the backside of it, what we deal with all the time is like, well, we didn't know that was happening, and we weren't aware, and although things are out in public, people chastise us for that every day.
Okay.
And we can't say, well, they said they talked to you, this way we have a document that can say we proved it.
Okay.
So,
We can certainly do that.
Yeah.
sorry, where would we pay the application fees? Sorry.
just get with the planning department, they'll take care of everything that you need.
Okay.
So one week if, you know, not a big deal, and there's room on the agenda for next week,
Okay.
Perfect.
all right?
All right.
Are you good with that, Commissioner?
Yes.
Opening for-
Yeah, fine.
So I'm assuming I'll get an email from you. Correct. We'll get an email with an, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
That's all we got.
All right, well, very good.
We'll see you next week.
All right, thank you, guys, appreciate
Same
it.
channel, same time, same place.
Next, we're gonna move into the public comment session. Board of County Commissioners welcomes you to this meeting. Person speaking during the public comment will be limited to 3 minutes, or depending on the number of people wishing to speak, it may be reduced to allow all the members of the public the opportunity to address the board. When addressing the board, please state your name and address for the record prior to providing your comments, and comments to individual supervisors or staff are not permitted. And participants may not yield their time. And with that, the public comment session is open.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mike Lynch. My address is 21730 Road S, Cortez. Previously, I delivered to the board a copy
Mike,
of the...
could you pick the mic up a little
Yes.
bit? Yeah, thank you.
Previously, I delivered to the board a copy of the third report of the forensic audit of the Mesa County, Colorado voting system. I want to read excerpts from that report this morning. From the executive summary, the findings provide evidence of unauthorized and illegal manipulation of tabulated vote data during the 2020 general election and 2021 Grand Junction municipal election. Because of this evidence, which led to the vote totals of those elections being impossible to verify, the results and integrity of those elections are in question. Findings and implications. Number one, there was an unauthorized creation of new election databases during early voting, followed by the digital reloading of 20,346 ballot records into the new election databases, making the original voter intent recorded from the ballots unknown. In addition, 5,567 ballots in 58 batches did not have their digital records copied to the new database. Number three, the absence of secure hash algorithm files for each digital ballot image makes the authenticity of each digital ballot image and the ballot level record for those ballots impossible to verify. The true total vote count in Mesa County, Colorado cannot be accurately calculated for the 2020 general election or the 2021 Grand Junction municipal election from records in the databases of the county's voting system. Number five, there is no function or feature on the EMS server that could be executed inadvertently or deliberately by a local election official that would cause the combination of events to occur, especially within the time frame that these events occurred. Number six, Dominion's installation of the Trusted Build Update on the EMS in May of 2021, as ordered by the Colorado Secretary of State, destroyed all data on the EMS hard drive, including the batch and ballot records that evidence the creation of new databases and reprocessing of ballot records described in findings 1 and 2 above. Number seven, the fact that such ballot record manipulation has been shown demonstrates a critical security failure with the Dominion voting system EMS wherever it is used. The manipulation would not be identifiable to an election official using the voting systems, nor to an observer or judge overseeing the election conduct, much less to citizens with no access to the voting systems without both cyber and database management system expertise, and unfettered access to database records and computer log files, many of which were destroyed by the actions of the Secretary of State from the EMS server. The manipulation would be undetectable. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning, all. I am Nikki Crowley, 1927 Rolling Road, and I listened to the county commissioner meeting last week, and my ears perked up, and I can't remember which gentleman said it, that there's a lot going on County Road L. And Rolling Road is just off County Road L, and I'm super excited about all the stuff that's happening there, but I hope the county and the city as well, there's a couple city folks here, are considering traffic on County Road L. It is a narrow road with very little, the ditches drop off really fast. People walk on that, people ride their bikes on that, and just with all the traffic that's gonna be on that with a church, with a school, with a new subdivision, I hope that County Road is thinking about, and I know that that's about 2/3 county and 1/3 city, so I hope there's some partnership there to really think about expanding that so people who are on that road can be safe, because we're gonna have a lot of kids on it too. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Linda, you're actually next on the agenda. You want to wait?
Oh,
You're an item on the agenda.
okay, yeah, you can wait.
Sorry.
You have your own special spot. So public comment, this is just public comment. If you're on the agenda, we'll wait until we get to you, but this is just public comment. Okay. Seeing none, we will close the public comment session, and we're gonna move right straight down to the city clerk. Now, Ms. Smith, you may move forward.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I stand with these esteemed women, including Kim. I came to thank the county for our wonderful support we have from our county clerk's office, the collaboration we have together, including Miranda, Danielle, Kim, and at the office over there's Lynn and Michelle, who helped on election night last Tuesday to complete our election results for the municipal election. I just want to say to the county and the city citizens that we're very lucky to work together, to have each other, and to have the support that we have. They do elections all the time. I do them twice a year. I couldn't do it without them. I'd also like to introduce Donna Murphy. She's our new deputy clerk for the city of Cortez. And I just want to say we have a great team. It's always nice to come and say thank you. And that's what I just want to say in front of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thank you guys for lending them to us and for the support.
You're welcome.
Work session is what time tonight?
We're not having a work session tonight. The city council meeting's at 7:30.
Thank you.
Thank you
Does
for
your new
coming.
council come in tonight?
Our new
or-
council will be sworn in on the 26th of April.
Oh, okay.
So
And we'll have a
2
goodbye
weeks away.
for our current ones, Orly and Mike, who will be leaving. And our 4 that were elected Tuesday will be sworn in on the 26th. So we hope you can come. We'll have a reception about 7 p.m. that night.
Thank you.
All
And
right.
thank you for coming to our meetings, Kent.
You're
It's
welcome.
good to have you. Thank you.
It's a perfect opportunity for me to introduce our newest election deputy, Miss Danielle Wells. Miranda moved over here to hang out with Shaq and Phaedra and do some bookkeeping, and we're gonna miss her terribly, and she's been amazingly a lot of help for this because poor Danielle was in at 2 weeks and she had a municipal election to run, so I'm very proud of these two. Just want you to know.
All right,
Thanks.
well, thank you, ladies.
for having us. Thanks
You
for
bet.
putting us on the agenda.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Back there. Okay, next we're gonna move into our county operations and county vehicle maintenance. Mr. Higman, come forward.
This one's already on, I'll go over here today. All right. So I just brought a list today to kind of show, I've been mentioning that we're getting upside down on vehicles, and because of the vehicle issues that the whole country is having. But this kind of just highlights what we're up against, and these are basically what we're slated to be replaced in the next, would be this year, next year, and last year. So, I mean, you can see how many we have there, and I show at the bottom there with our lease, we just upped it basically 24,000, so we have 162,000 coming out of this budget for the lease this year, which only leaves 137,000. But it's looking like this year we may end up having to just find the cheapest retail vehicle. If we're gonna not keep getting behind, we're just gonna have to go to the market and buy, because there's no government. Even Chevy came out and they're gonna let government order, but they're not gonna have government incentives. So there's no deal, or no automobile manufacturer doing government incentives this year. So if we don't order or don't go get something this year, we're just gonna get even further behind.
So these 10 vehicles, when we had our first, second, third, I can't remember what proposals, and Commissioner Copenhaver, you weren't here, so I'll try to bring you up to speed, but we actually had the entire fleet at one proposal that was in that recommendation for those costs. If we're gonna continue to get, because 10 vehicles, even at $50,000 a vehicle, that's $500,000.
Yes.
We're not gonna, we'll never stay up with this
No.
ever, and that's why we've always been behind. So can we go back and look at those proposals, and what will it look like for 3/4 of that fleet, or 5/8 of the fleet, other than just the sheriff's department? Because we still don't have enough money left in capital to do this at all.
Yeah, and that's we're gonna have to look at the situation, and, you know, this doesn't account for any of the stuff that's gonna be sold this year. So if we get, well, I'm gonna say if, because who knows, if we get our F-150 patrol cars this year, there will be probably that 14 units or 13 units that will be sold. So that might bring in even if they bring 10,000 apiece, it'll be $130,000. So even if we looked at putting the vehicles that we sold that money into the next year's budget over on top of the 300,000 would help keep this going. And we keep getting into a worse deficit, which at a certain point I can run all the numbers and we can keep up, but we were already down when we
Well,
started.
We started with a fleet that was already, that should have been replaced.
Yeah.
And I'm not dogging on you guys at all. I'm just saying we weren't keeping up.
Well, the whole managing the fleet, I don't think anybody takes into consideration how many vehicles are in Montezuma County. I mean, you see vehicles in Montezuma County out there, but we're all spread out. And I don't remember, I have the numbers, but I think there's 105 units total in Montezuma County.
And we reduced it in 2019, when I first came on, we reduced it by like 10 or 12%, right?
But it's still, then it's slowly working itself up again.
Right.
You know, every
So-
year, we have a need come up, like, the KIP van, that's added to our fleet, and, we added one to the assessors, and over just the time that I've been here, we've added numbers here and there. And that's another thing we need to look at. I ran the numbers the other day, and there's at least 20 fleet vehicles that don't get anywhere close to 5,000 miles a year on them. And if they don't get 5,000 miles a year, in my feeling, we need to figure out a way to use that vehicle in more than one department to get those miles up to where, because even at 15 years or 150,000 miles, that's 10,000 miles a year. If we're only getting 3,000 miles a year, that vehicle's only gonna have 80,000 miles on it when we sell it. We need to figure out a way to, but
So
this
I
is all
agree.
stuff
I
coming down the
think-
road.
Yeah,
You know, and our-
interdepartment use of vehicles is,
At our department head meeting that we have coming up, in the next week, 2 weeks, whatever that is, I think we just need to put it to them all and to say, look, we're gonna have to share some of these vehicles, because one, we can't get them, two, the costs continue to rise, and if we're not putting 3,000 miles a year on one vehicle in a department, and I know they're all out there listening, we're just gonna have to kind of combine and do some pool vehicles, because it just,
yeah,
3,000 miles a year doesn't even make sense to own the vehicle because of the insurance we're paying on it.
Yeah.
It makes more sense to almost rent
And
it.
I understand that all these departments have their vehicle needs for sure. They all need to go somewhere, but if we can figure out, it's not gonna happen overnight, but if we can figure out a way to get the mileage up on these vehicles and somewhat share vehicles through
So
departments.
your recommendation is that we set up some pool vehicles and you'll be able to?
That would be my recommendation. I've talked to Jim about, somewhat of a schedule system for it, so you could check that vehicle out for the day. I mean, it's gonna take planning on departments, but we can't keep, and it's the same with the sheriff's department. If they keep adding deputies, we can't keep adding,
vehicles.
patrol vehicles. They're gonna have to double up. Our county just doesn't have the money to support a fleet the size that for everybody to have their own vehicle.
So I would say we just start putting together that proposal, and then we'll talk about it at the department head meeting and just kind of let them know where we're at, because we can't.
And
I
this
agree,
is
we
still,
can't
you know,
keep adding.
these were what was slated, and we will, even if we could buy two 3/4 ton pickups this year at just a base pickup at under 50,000, which they're out there, we're gonna have to go find them, just like we had to go find the KIP van, but they're out there. And that would knock off the bottom two, because the landfill wants to take those two pickups that are at the bottom and combine them into one pickup, one 3/4 ton pickup they can use just as an all-around vehicle at the landfill. So that'll knock off two at the bottom. And then if we can replace one road department vehicle from the top, it'll at least somewhat put a dent in this list, but we're just getting further behind in it. I see it every year, and we're trying our hardest to keep it going, and then COVID happens and you can't get vehicles, and it's just, it multiplies, and then pretty soon you end up having a year that you need to purchase a lot of vehicles and don't have the money, so we're just getting upside down. Which, there's nothing we can control on it, but it's just happening. So, I just wanted to bring that to light
I guess
today.
we'll wait to see your proposal at the department head meeting.
Yep.
Yeah.
And,
And then
and
we
that,
can-
that will be coming down the pike on, I'm gonna try to see if Chevy is gonna do anything with government pricing, but it didn't sound like they were going to. And then we're just gonna have to try to at least replace, take that 100,000 that we have, or 130,000, and buy 2 vehicles that, and we're just gonna have to bite the bullet and pay retail for them to keep our fleet going, or we're just gonna be worse. So, that'll be coming down the pike too, but, and the other thing I wanted to mention is we did finally get that, the fire department came over and got that KIP van the other day, so that's close to being
In service.
in service and come to light, so we put lights on it and, got the table installed that they needed in there, and so that's finally off and going, so it's on the road.
Good.
Other than that, I'll put a proposal together for the full vehicle, and maybe the next department head meeting, just come in and see what everybody thinks.
Well, it's,
It's just, we're not gonna have an option at a certain point. We can't keep, with the funds of the county going down and the vehicles going
Increasing
up,
costs.
there's no way we can keep going the way we are, so.
all right. We'll wait for your proposal, Shane.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Dustin, building and maintenance.
Morning.
Good morning.
So, we finished up that office in Dolores for the road department. It's painted and wired up. We cleaned up the ditches behind the combined courts, because we had them opened up, and it was winter time, it ended up freezing, so got that cleaned up, looking better. We purchased that generator from the Catholic Church, and it's installed where it's gonna sit. I'm waiting on natural gas, maybe this week, but more like next week. He said 2 to 3 weeks, so depending on how their schedule goes. And then it'll be electric. He came and looked at it yesterday, so hopefully he's getting what he needs ordered. We installed some tent at the clerk's office for Kim, and then we installed a new vacuum and compressor at the dental office at the health department.
So do you have a time for the generator? I'm gonna back up just a minute for this building, for completion.
I need to check with the electrician, but I would think 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
As long as he can,
So by the end of the month?
yeah, I believe so. Anything else?
All right. No, not, if you don't have anything else.
All right.
You guys wanna know about the tenting?
Sure.
Do you guys wanna know?
Sure.
So, as you guys know, as you come down our hallway, we've got all those huge windows. And one of the things that, when the state came down and talked to us about security within our office, that was one of the things that they talked about. So we have a tenting now that we can see out of, the girls can see out to see who's in the hallway, but, they can't see in. And then we put it just so high so that the assessor's office can still look down and see if we have any trouble, they can still look down and see into our office if there's anything going on. And Justin was amazing to help me, because I knew nothing.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dustin.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, GIS is next. Doug and Rachel.
So we've been, the primary theme is, of the last month, is we've been getting back to some of the projects that we started last year, and then we got really busy, and getting back to that, and also some data quality control we'll talk about that a little bit. So one quick slide, this is what I've been working on so far this week and a little bit last week. Is I mentioned that we had some LiDAR data that was partners through the USGS and the state that we received about this time last year, and been generating contours. So this isn't the best contrast, but this is an area just north of Totten Lake, as just picking a random area. And the red lines are our previous contour lines, 5-foot contour lines, and the yellow is our new 5-foot contour lines. You can see, even though this is 5-foot contours versus 5-foot contours, you can see the amount of detail that this new data has is just tremendous, and being able to pick out gullies and so forth. So that's just an example of how much better this data is. And then on the next slide, Jane and I were attending a little
That's impressive.
discussion
They're not even
of,
close.
No.
They're not even close.
you know where that is?
Right,
I
but I'm
see an
just saying the
intersection.
lines, if you look at the lines and they're both 5-foot contours, those lines should be pretty close, but they're not even close.
Level.
So one data set layer that we haven't served out, there's a couple ways to display topography data that's easy to understand is obviously contours. We're all familiar with that. The other way is kind of a slope, a degree slope layer, where you can see the amount of slope changes. And so we're developing that layer, and we're gonna add that to our public map and our internal use maps as well. So it's easy to see where there are steep areas, 0 to 10, 10 to 20, and so forth. And this is the courthouse. This is the property that we sit on now, and it might not look that impressive, but the fact that it's picking up not only retaining walls, curb and gutters, and the medians on Main Street is pretty phenomenal as far as that, the resolution of that data. So, and this is, that type of data can affect a lot of things that we're able to do, and the accuracy that we can do that in, if we're talking about looking at what suitable land is for different purposes. If it's extremely high slope, it's not good for certain activities, or what is the slope and the aspect if we're looking at siting solar panels and so forth like that. So it's really great data, and we're getting back into working with that a little bit. In planning, I think it's just good to look, if you're looking at properties, what the aspect is on the slope. Planning, having all that information, just being able to take a quick look and say, this is really steep, this is really flat, what have you. This is a project that Rachel started last year. We're going to pick it up, and hopefully when we see you again in a month, we'll have this done.
So this was an idea I got from Boulder County. Went to a GIS conference a few years ago, and they have a team anytime there's going to be a new build, or just looking at the fire risk for homes. They can generate these maps for property owners, so they kind of know what vegetation is within what zone of their property to do wildfire mitigation. So I kind of created something similar for us, and hoping that we can kind of provide that support for Wildfire Adapted Partnership. This was fairly easy to do, and now that I've have the kind of structure developed, it'll be easy to kind of update the data and then just pick an address, and it'll generate a map here for them. So the first zone is a 5-foot buffer, and then the second is 30, and then zone 3 is 100 feet. And so this will hopefully help property owners who are doing wildfire mitigation kind of understand what is within each zone. Yeah, and this is something that the Dwarf Collaborative and Wildfire Adaptive Partnership are kind of excited about that we can provide this service for them, because they just don't have GIS capabilities right now, or even full-time staff sometimes. So we just wanted to kind of show this to you, and this is just an example in Cedar Mesa Ranches.
So, I mean, so this was a 2016 build, but with the conditions and the weather now, with the winds and the intensity of the winds, is a 100-foot buffer zone really, are they still recommending only a 100-foot buffer zone? Or has that increased? Because prevailing winds has a lot to do with it, where they come from. I mean, in Cedar Mesa Ranches, I'm not sure that 100 feet would be enough anywhere. Unless you're down on the bottom.
And we, you know, there's like a matching map that shows the contours, you know, essentially the terrain. So you can understand that, how that plays in as well. And these zones are based off the research that they have out now. I should put the source of where I got that. But if, you know, we can change that if we want to, you know, and it's really up to.
So you're just giving them the zone, and then it's up to them to decide what their defensible space is based on the terrain.
Yeah, just kind of helping give a visual for understanding.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, we'll reach back out with Wildfire Adapted. I mean, as we've seen the past couple of years, we know that this doesn't, you know, necessarily cut it, and there's all sorts of situations. But I think by putting that information out there and making it graphic, we can use it as a, to increase people's awareness, and then to help them evaluate their own sites.
And kind of plan for that.
And then maybe use it as a tool where they can actually contact Wildfire Adapted and know what services are available for them to go out and do site-specific analysis. Maybe just another interesting tool to increase that awareness of what's available. Made some small changes to the road department snowplow route map.
Road map to be adopted. Do we want to do that this year?
Yeah, we'll be bringing a new 2022 roadmap to you, getting that prepared and bringing that to you here in a couple months. For sure, and we're seeing development ramp back up again. The bulk of the time that we're spending, I know Rachel's drawing a lot of plats. You're seeing a lot of the plats come across her desk, and we're also going back within the SmartGov system and making sure that we have all of our roles done, all of the addresses assigned, seeing the completeness of these, and it's just with the imagery that we have available and the resources that we have available, it's just tremendous to be able to see what people are doing, whether they're building garages and ADUs and new homes, and see the progression of this. It's we're able to go back and really validate that and make sure that we're representing that on the map. So it's feel like we're pretty up to date on that.
Okay, very good.
I think those things for homeowners, because they, you know, people go to their house and they don't pay attention to how far that is and how much they actually need to clear around their house until you show them a picture, and then all of a sudden, oh my goodness. You know, I think it helps tremendously for you to put that out there to people.
Yeah, I think it gives a better perspective, because it's easy to say like, oh, there might only be 10 trees within 100 feet.
Yeah.
And then you really look at this.
You look at the picture and it's totally a different thing, and it wakes people up. Some, not all, but some.
And
It helps.
Yeah, and I'm willing to generate these for any property owner that comes in and wants and requests them.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the goal, we're gonna put this on the website. It's gonna be one of our key maps. And it's gonna be a tool. Rich and I are gonna work together on this. It's gonna be a tool where you know, type in your address or you find your actual property, and then it auto-generates this map and either downloads it for you or emails it to you. So it's gonna do all the work for you, and,
Good.
Thank you for
You
your
know,
support.
100 feet, you know, like I said, back in the day, you know, defensible spaces when we were fighting fire was 300 feet, because even in the JP, they may not be very tall, but it doesn't take much of a one to get a 100-foot phlegm length. And that's
Yeah, and with fires being
That's-
hotter and more intense
it's
these
reality.
days.
Well, the slope maps, I mean,
Slope is the big
every
thing.
10 degrees of slope and doubles the speed of the fire going up a ridge.
Wow. And I can incorporate that too then with the slope data we have now. So, but yeah, other than that, we're just pretty busy with our everyday projects and supporting our department, so.
oh, and I think a vehicle scheduling app of some sort would be fantastic, because the old way of doing it and looking in the book and asking who's using it.
Yeah, we have apps, we have ways to do it where you can pull it up. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just a matter of figuring it out, but.
But with this available online, I mean, then fires never happen during the week, during business hours. It's always
Oh, yeah,
weekends and nights.
yeah.
That's a good
So
point.
you can call this up, will be a valuable tool to the firefighting resources also.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Shack Public Lands, usually we put right on at 10 o'clock. Are they in the waiting room, or?
No, they were gonna come in person. I forwarded you the email where Derek and Connie
Derek and
dropped off,
Connie.
but
Well,
Ray
here
and
we-
Casey, oh, here
Casey-
comes Casey,
here
so
comes
we'll just
Casey right
start with
now.
that. Perfect timing, so that'll work.
I guess we can start with Casey. Come on down, Casey.
Nice
We're a
to
little
meet
bit
you in
early.
person. We're running a little ahead of schedule, so you walked in right on time.
Perfect timing.
Yep.
And you don't even have to share with N.M.P.M right now. So you have the whole show.
Wow, this is awesome. Well, a quick shout out to our plow drivers, our roads and trails folks at the park. They are busy moving snow up there.
Good.
All right, great, and could you tap the mic and make sure it's on? Okay, there we go, thanks.
Now it's on. Does that sound good?
Yep.
Yeah.
It does, thank
All
you.
right. Good morning. I'm so happy to be here in person at long last to give you an update on Mesa Verde National Park. Of course, this is going to be my spring update, but it doesn't seem very spring-like out there. But all moisture is good.
That's right.
Yeah, so just a little bit about how busy we've been. We have had a good spring break showing, lots of folks coming in, and in fact, our March visitation was up 22% over last year's, and we're basically back from pandemic, we're back to pre-pandemic levels. Our year-to-date visitation is up 13% over last year, so it looks like it's gonna be pretty busy, and we're excited that National Park Week kicks off this Saturday, and it's a fee-free day at all national parks. That would certainly include Mesa Verde, but any others, so if folks around here are traveling, I would encourage certainly the local national park, but any others are free on Saturday as well. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I parked a long ways off.
You're okay.
All right. I want to give you some updates on facilities that'll be reopening again for the spring. Aramark, our concession operation, they're gearing up for a good season, and in fact, they're opening some things a little bit early. They've got the Farview Lodge that's going to open up basically on the 14th, that's Thursday, and that includes the Metate Room. So probably most of you have been to the Metate Room in the past. They just did a fabulous renovation. It looks really beautiful. So all new interior appointments and new furnishings in there, so I highly encourage you to get there and enjoy that. Also, Spruce Tree Terrace that has been closed for, well, basically closed for almost the last couple of years because of the pandemic. That's going to reopen on Thursday as well. Farview Terrace, the the sort of snack shop there and gift shop, that's been open, but now we'll have expanded services up there as well. The Moorfield Campground is open now for backcountry or primitive camp, not backcountry, but primitive camping. So, so folks who are ready to rough it a little bit are welcome to come up, and then they'll open, the full campground will open with full services at the end of the month. Wetherill Mesa is going to open up May 1st, so we have just a couple more weeks before that part of the park opens back up again. And that will also include tours of Mug House and Square Tower House. And just a reminder that all of our tours are continuing to be available. The tickets are available on recreation.gov, so we don't actually sell those at the Visitor and Research Center any longer. So those are all available online. We've just gone all online with our tour tickets. The big project that I think I've updated you on virtually since I got here was the Cliff Palace Loop, the big paving project. And I'm happy to say that that has begun again. So we hope that we will be on track for the Cliff Palace Loop to open June 15th. And then that would restore tour tickets, well, tours of both Cliff Palace and Balcony House beginning on July 1st. So remember that when the Cliff Palace Loop reopens, then the Mesa Top Loop will close. And that part of the park road will be repaved. Then once that's done, we'll move on to the Big Hill. And then the roundabout at the park entrance will be the final thing that we do. So that's probably going to take us through most of the summer, but I'm very happy to say that we've got construction crews up there now working on the Cliff Palace Loop. Let's see, other things that are still kind of in flux and some closures that are going on. The Chapin Mesa Museum, we have a big HVAC project that is way delayed, supply chain issues and so forth. So we're not probably going to open the museum until later this summer or at all this summer. We'll have to see how that goes. We'll have open trenches, and so it'll be a little iffy situation up there for visitors. But people can still get to the Spruce Treehouse overlook, so that is still accessible and gives great views of Spruce Treehouse cliff dwelling. Spruce Treehouse itself, the access to it is still closed, but the NEPA document for that to look at stabilizing the arch in front of the alcove is moving forward. We expect the public release of that to happen in May. And let's see. So the public release of that EA will happen in May for 30-day review, and then the finding of no significant impact would probably be signed in August. And then the last quick thing to update you on is the fire management plan for Mesa Verde National Park and Yucca House National Monument. That too is about to commence with the NEPA process. We anticipate that's going to be an environmental assessment, and that will be released for public review in early June. And so the FONSI for that we anticipate signing in late August too. And just a reminder about where we are with fire management in the park. We had a wildfire emergency response plan that we've been operating under the last couple of years, and that allowed us to do some prescribed burning, pile burning, and some mechanical treatments. That document expired, and we don't have anything in place for fire management activities until we get that EA completed. So basically our response this summer, this season, will be suppress, and we will not be conducting any prescribed burns or any mechanical thinning projects. So we're kind of in a holding pattern, but the regional office is squarely behind us completing our fire management plan expeditiously. So by the end of, well, probably by September, we'll be able to operate under a new fire management plan. So I will pause there and see if y'all have any questions for me.
You just answered my question with your fire management plan.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, I was hoping Connie would be here. She and I had talked about that, since we share a boundary there on the front. And so she and her folks know what we're doing. We've kept them in the loop as well. So I think we're proceeding well.
Actually, for the people that are watching on YouTube that don't know the Matati Room, if you've never eaten up there, it's a fantastic restaurant, and it's right here locally. It's about a, 30-minute drive, 40-minute drive, and it's a great view at the end of the day. So if you have never eaten up there, I highly recommend that you go up there, enjoy the park for the day, and then come back and eat at the Matati Room, because it,
And this weekend would be a great weekend to do it, no
That's
charge to get into the park.
Right, on
Correct.
Saturday, fee-free, and then, of course, our fee stations close, you know, between 4 and 5 o'clock. So if you come up after that, then there's no way to pay your entrance fee after hours anyhow. So I would encourage folks to get up there before we get super busy this summer.
Yep.
I mean, national parks all over the country are on track for another very big year. So if you live around the area and you want to get in before it gets super crowded, this is a good time to do it.
and it's a great view coming home.
I do it
Stop.
every day.
Stop and look at the overlooks on your way home. It's pretty spectacular views right here that we have, and a lot of people seem to forget about it.
Thank you for that great advertisement, Commissioner.
Senior passes, you guys issue senior passes?
Absolutely we do.
See, you guys, you're almost there.
Well,
You get a senior pass, every day's a free day.
what are your senior pass ages? Because they vary everywhere.
No,
Oh, no, it's a national program, so it's senior passes for all the federal fee areas.
Oh, okay.
So it's $80 for a lifetime senior pass. You can buy a one-year senior pass for $20, and then you can accumulate that towards the $80 forever senior pass.
So what's the age?
62.
Yeah.
see, you're close.
I'm not there.
And
All right.
then, I think just out at the Ag Expo, you guys ended up adopting out some of the horses from the Mustang program, didn't you?
Well, just wait, we've only trapped one. We trapped that one last fall,
Uh-huh.
and that was a very successful baiting, capture, and then transfer property and adoption, yes. We're gonna be doing that more later this year. We're working together with the National Mustang Association, the Colorado chapter here. So they're going to be our partners to continue doing that. So the other thing that we of course have to do is we need to tighten up our boundary. So we've got fencing projects happening over the next several years, because it doesn't make sense to trap and capture if you're not closing the hole that they're getting in on. Thanks for asking about that.
Yep.
Good deal. Hi, Commissioner. Okay.
Great. Well, I look forward to addressing you again with another update in a month or
Alright.
two.
Thank you.
Nice to
Casey.
meet you in person.
Yes, all of
And-
you as well.
Absolutely. So we actually were supposed to have Derek. He had to attend another meeting. Connie also had another meeting, and then now Ray has canceled out on us. So Casey, you were our only federal person here today.
What a star.
Well, the thing is, that disappoints me because I was hoping to meet my buddies too.
Oh.
So now at least I've met you.
Thank
There
you.
you
You
go.
met us. Thank you, Casey. All right, next we have some unfinished business. We can discuss, which one do you want to bring up first, Shaq? The NCA?
Yep.
So I'm gonna, basically, I was caught by Commissioner Cooper and Commissioner Cook from Dolores and San Miguel County in Denver, where we were at a meeting at CCI on Thursday. We discussed that we had never officially signed a letter of intent, or that we would jump back into the NCA negotiations with them, which is the National Conservation Area, which affects the Dolores River, below and above the dam. So if we implement an NCA, it basically pulls a wild and scenic off of the table, which right now, below the dam, everything is managed as wild and scenic designation. And it also takes away the possibility of a monument being placed, which is what we had happen out here at N.M.P.M several years ago. So at your last meeting, gentlemen, I'm gonna then turn it over to our attorney and to Commissioner Copenhaver, because just one commissioner attends these meetings. It sounds like there might be some new language that is being proposed that we are not aware of or that we have not seen. So I don't know how that affects us positively, negatively, neutral, towards towards working on this. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, gentlemen.
So what I can say is at our last meeting, there was no new language proposed during the actual meeting with the entire work group. After that meeting, there was, I did receive an email from one of the individuals in the work group that did suggest that they may be looking at some additional language, but nothing was really concretely discussed at the meeting. What I took from that meeting was that there was gonna be another meeting and that we were gonna kind of finalize things. Commissioner, I don't know if you had a different take, but I certainly didn't come away from the meeting with the sense that there had been a final draft developed that was gonna be sent up.
I agree with you. There was no discussion about changing this, and some of the things that they've got on there that they're changing is not, in my mind, what I saw, what she sent to us is some significant changes to this document.
And I just want to be really clear, the language that I was sent was not discussed at our meeting, and it was not put into the actual document. So I don't know whether that was just one member of the group that was throwing out some ideas, or whether this is actually what was going to go in the document. But you know, it certainly didn't come up at our meeting that those changes were going to be made.
I personally think until we get this straightened out as to whether those changes are gonna be in the document or not, we have to look at this differently, because they're changing, that significantly changes the scope of projects that are that could happen even outside of the area.
Correct, which would be upstream, basically. then,
Upstream, basically.
Which is where we have the storage
Yes.
concerns, or DWCD's storage concerns. So if you guys want, at your next meeting, I don't know when it is scheduled, but you might just let them know that we're gonna hold off on this letter until we actually see if that language was even proposed by the group or even agreed upon from what I'm hearing right now.
Yes, sir.
Because I think collectively, what we'd agreed on is that we want to be part of the conversation. My only concern is if we don't sign a letter saying that we want to be part of the conversation, are we just going to be eliminated since we stepped away in 2015? I mean, what do we?
I think certainly, I think everybody understands we're back at the table. We've been included in the meetings. We continue to be included in the meetings. You know, I don't sense that there's any question about whether we're back at the table. And Commissioner, I don't know if that's your sense as well, but it certainly seems to me that the work group understands that Montezuma County's back, and they've been bouncing ideas off us, and ultimately I think, you know, the goal is to get letters of support from all these different entities. You know, my suggestion would be, though, before we sign a letter of support, I think we need to have that document in front of us that we're supporting.
The final
This
draft.
is what we're supporting, and you know, we could even attach the proposed legislation onto this letter, so there's no question. This is the letter, this is what we're supporting, and done.
And I agree with that. So what, Commissioner, what you're saying is if we attach the draft that we've all read now to this, because the current possibly proposed language is what you're saying? It hasn't been proposed yet?
Yeah, I wouldn't attach the draft at this point, because I don't think there's been any consensus about whether that
It's a
draft
final
is gonna
draft.
be sent up or not. And I think until we get to the table with the different entities, Dolores County, San Miguel County, ourselves, the other groups that are involved, you know, until we have a consensus that this isn't what's gonna be sent, I don't know that it makes sense to sign this letter. That's my take.
We can definitely wait until after your next meeting to see.
I really think we should until we get this language sorted out, because it makes significant changes.
Sure.
What I'm reading there is, it's significant.
That was my reaction as well.
There's nothing that says we have to sign this at all today.
Right.
So I would wait until your guys' next meeting, give us your next report, and then we can see what that draft language is, or if it even changed.
The overreach outside the boundaries of the NCA is really concerning.
Yeah, it's just,
Well, then it's gonna
Yeah.
go back to a wild and scenic.
Right.
So just keep us apprised. We'll leave this letter sit until you guys see or bring back the next.
Well, my hope is that we can bring back something that we have very clear language that we can attach a letter on and support. I mean, I thought we were very close, and maybe we are very close. Again, I don't wanna, this language was sent to me after the meeting, and I wanna be very clear. I mean, it wasn't something that at the meeting they said, we're putting this in.
Right.
This was one of the partners that sent out this language that was just some suggested language. I mean, that's all I understood it to be. And so, I want to just be real clear. It's not something that's in the NCA as far as I know. So.
Okay, well, we can wait till the next meeting. That way you guys have time to question them to see whether that is or whether that isn't. Okay, very good. All right, Shaq, next you can pull up the next letter of support for the inpatient treatment facility.
So, gentlemen, what this is.
I'll kind of give a briefing of this. Also, while I was in Denver, the Plata County Commissioner got a hold of me in support of this letter for the congressionally directed spending, and it is applicable to La Plata County's old facility, the Denier facility, which would be part of our opioid treatment center, as we are collectively working with the group of the 5 counties. And with that, Shaq, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so what the La Plata County is asking for is money to refurbish the Denier Center based upon a feasibility study being done by Region 9 on behalf of the Southwest Opioid Response District. And if that feasibility study shows that inpatient treatment is feasible within our area, or that sober living is feasible within our area, La Plata County is willing to put that building up to be used as such, but they anticipate that it's going to be an awful lot of money to remodel it for the needs that it would have. And so they're applying for $5 million for the remodel of the Denier Center to be used for either inpatient treatment or a sober living facility based upon the outcome of the feasibility study. And just a reminder, neither one of those currently exist anywhere in our 5-county area. So.
And just to highlight it again, this is all based, this letter of support is just if the feasibility study comes back that says that it actually can be sustainable. If it comes back and says it's not sustainable within the 5 counties, then everything is off the table.
Correct.
Nothing is, it ties us to nothing as far as spending. This is one of the CDS that have come down, and that's just what we're looking at with the SWORD program to try and find a treatment facility for our people that are actually suffering from these addictions. So you guys have seen it.
Yeah.
What's your pleasure?
I would move that we sign the letter of support for La Plata County's congressionally directed spending application. I do know that our people here are having trouble finding spots for them, for opioid abuse, for all of the abuses that are going on. And to have a facility this close would just help out tremendously.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to sign a letter of support for La Plata County's congressionally directed spending application. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, with that, we are done with that portion of the meeting. We're gonna go down to our attorney's report.
been a busy week, lots of little things to clean up here and there. But biggest things I think that are important for this report today. Did talk to the assessor, Leslie Bugg. They were having some issues at the assessor's office with deeds that were coming in for property transfers and mistakes in the legal descriptions on those deeds. It sounds like in certain instances there have been situations where deeds just either have clerical errors or they don't close the property off correctly. There's just issues with the legal description that they don't match the properties that are being transferred. Worked with Leslie a little bit to get a letter together to send out to folks, just letting them know exactly when the assessor's office will transfer properties and when they won't. And really what we're looking at is, what the assessor's office is looking for is making sure that the legal descriptions are correct. It's a tricky situation for Leslie because she really isn't in a position where she can provide legal advice to title companies or attorneys' offices that are sending in these deeds. She can identify when there's a significant mistake, for instance, a 20-acre parcel that just isn't closed off by the legal description. And so, it's in those instances, the assessor's office is not going to accept these deeds for transfer, and they're going to have to be corrected before it's all done. And so that was one thing that came up. We got that taken care of, and so I think we have a pretty clear idea of what we're going to do moving forward. We did meet with Mel Jarman about the title restrictions at the landfill. Mr. Jarman was fine with the restrictions that were put in place by the state. There was some question, though. There was a piece of property that was not included on the map that the state sent to us that's being used as an active landfill. And so the title restrictions really at this point encompass the properties that are now closed that were previously used as a landfill. But Mr. Jarman was just a little confused because we had a property that's certainly active right now and is being used, and that wasn't included. So we got that cleared up. I just actually got an email from the state during this meeting. They clarified on those title restrictions that this is not going to include the property that's currently being used as a landfill. So that'll clarify that up, and we should be ready to move forward with that next week. Worked on the Suicide Prevention Coalition at the Health Department is contracting for some data analysis with an individual contractor. He's going to be looking at data from several different sources, in my understanding, to try to give them some measurables for youth suicide in this area. Got that contract written up, drafted, and I think it's going to be signed this week, is my understanding, or real soon. And then the last thing, and this isn't necessarily pertinent to the county, but I do serve on the Judicial Performance Commission for the 22nd Judicial District. What that does is that evaluates the performance of district court judges in this district. It's a whole team of attorneys and non-attorneys in this area. At least 2 of the judges are up for retention in November, and so had a meeting with them, and we're going to produce those reports that you see on the ballot that talk about the judge's performance, so individuals can vote whether to retain or not retain judges. Really, our job is to just get some information out there. From the attorney and non-attorney perspective, there's a written narrative that we work on, and so attended a meeting on that, and we'll continue to move forward with that work.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Ian?
No.
All right. James Dietrich is stuck on another meeting, so he won't be in here. Shaq will go right straight to you.
Well, I'll make this short and sweet. I was gone most of last week, so I've got nothing to report.
Well, that was short and sweet. All right, Commissioner's report. I'll go to my right first.
Kind of like Shaq, a little short and sweet, but congratulations to Sukla Auctions for one heck of an auction. It was busy out there. I would suggest that we put electronic road signs up there for heavy traffic next year on the highway, because it was busy out there. And also to the Home and Garden Show, they had quite an attendance out there. And other than that, I don't have too much. again, messages, talked to people over the weekend, talked to a lot of people over the weekend, and hopefully we're gonna get some issues resolved. That's it. Oh, got council tonight, city council.
All right,
That's why I was asking Linda what time.
yeah. So 7 o'clock tonight,
Yeah,
or 7:30?
7:30.
Okay, Commissioner Copenhaver.
Yeah, things were really busy out at the auction and stuff this weekend. There was a lot of people out there, even during the week before that auction, there was a lot of people out there. Not a whole lot going on as far as meetings this last week that I attended. I have an MVI meeting this afternoon to attend, but we're working through some different issues there. We've had some issues with trying to get our water running this week to do a stock run, and we've had some of our pipelines come apart and stuff, so been dealing with those issues, trying to get things water running, so that's most of the stuff that I've been involved with this last week, so not much going on.
Okay, very good. First thing I want to report is that my flight to and from Denver were both on time, and the first time I think I've ever done them both on time, both ways. So Thursday morning getting to Denver for the meetings and then coming home late Friday night. Spent 2 days at CCI going over all of our 9 steering committee bills. Some of the big ones, the law enforcement to prevent human trafficking, House Bill 22-1300 is going to be a permissive bill so that we do not necessarily have to, as this county, as a Category 4 county, have to opt in it. It's permissive, so we took a support position on that. We then went to one of the hot topics, which I'll let Ms. Purcell jump in on this one if she has anything to add. Senate Bill 22-153, which is the internal election security measures, and I wish the gentleman would have stuck around for the rest of the meeting so that he actually can hear it. But that is moving. The biggest takeaways for us is that it comes with a pretty big fiscal note. I was texting Kim back and forth as this was being discussed. In Denver, a lot of the things that we do as far as our security measures are already there, but there are some upgrades that we are still going to have to continue to do, which there again, if the state passes laws, they have to come with the funding to be able to keep them into perpetuity is what our big issue is. So at CCI, that's one of the biggest things that we do is if it doesn't come with the state funding to support it, we don't want it passed. And then to give back the local control that this bill could take away. So we voted to support this with those amendments, and it has been through the Senate in the 3rd reading and has passed with no amendments. So we'll see how well we do there. Couple of other big ones that, let me get to this one. This was House Bill 1362, which is building greenhouse gas emissions, which is part of what they're trying to do is modernize the building energy codes. But within this, and this is the real issue that I have with this, is we talk about affordable housing and all the bills that are coming out to address affordable housing. However, if you read the whole contents of this bill, it adds EV readiness to garages attached, inside or outside, whether it be a pedestal or inside a garage, which just increases the cost for affordable housing because the EV readiness has to be there. And not just EV readiness, it has to be solar adaptable, which there again, it's just an increased cost, which they're talking about bills over here for affordable housing, and they're talking about getting things that are putting more costs back into that. So that House Bill 22-1362. Tax and Finance, House Bill 22-1301, the Controlled Environmental Agricultural Facility as agricultural property. this one I have got to get with the Farm Bureau to see where they sit. This bill basically addresses a controlled environment agricultural facility, which is a structure not less than 1,000 square feet. So apparently they are using these structures anymore to grow hydroponic fodder or fodder. I'm not sure how I'm saying that properly. But it gives them back an agricultural status for that, but the way the agricultural status reads is that it's supposed to be grown in the ground. So this is one, it was debated pretty heavily. We took an opposed position on this one, and 88% opposed in the room of all the county commissioners that were up there. So more to be followed on that one. And then the big one, which affects us as a county, is the collective bargaining issue that's for the counties and public schools. So that bill is gonna hit this week. I will probably sign up to testify at the state of how it's going to affect us here. Just hiring a negotiator, implementing the potential of 4 to 6 months just to get through the entire process of negotiating. You know, there's a fiscal note that goes along with that. Shaq and I put some of the numbers together with it, and a potential another $3 to $4 million increase to our budget just right off the top. And that's just, you know, we're just kind of guessing of what it'll cost. Weld County put together their cost, and theirs is gonna be between 40 and 60 million a year, but they are obviously a lot bigger county. So a lot of interesting bills that are still coming out. They're over 500 and I wanna say 60 bills right now, and we still have about another 45 days in this legislative session. So a lot that could affect us as a county with fiscal notes, and we're doing everything that we can as your 3 commissioners to fight these fiscal notes, along with our elected officials, because I am sitting in these committee rooms and texting back and forth to everybody that I can, getting other information. That finished out my week. Spent some time at the Home and Garden Show, had a lot of interesting conversations out there. Went to the Kiwanis banquet Saturday night, so I had about a 16-hour day on Saturday, and that actually went very well too. We came into our work session yesterday. We're presented by the Unlimited Learning Center. They have a program, and they also had some data given to us by Region 9 as far as a survey that they had on CDL drivers in the area. One of the things that they struggle with is they don't have a spot big enough to conduct their training and or their testing for CDL licensing. Right now they do Class B licensing, but they also are looking at Class A licensing, and they need right about an acre paved so that they can leave their striping on the parking lot to accommodate and facilitate their need for the licensing. Moved into a community food assessment project with Lori Hall, went over, I think it was 15 objectives, and most of those objectives that we talked about yesterday are currently being handled by the Public Health Department that Lori Hall presented. We did not get to talk to Mr. Swicker with a concern of a ditch leaking on County Road G. We do have ditches down there that parallel the road real close, and some of those ditches, just like the slip that we're dealing with right now down on about mile marker 21, that we have that engineered and have some wells drilled so that we're monitoring that. We were able to put that in pipe along with the ditch company so that the water is now going beyond that slip. Lastly, at the Board of Health, or I'm sorry, at the workshop yesterday, we had talked in our Board of Health meeting, the transfer of title, and it was brought up that we had not done anything with that. Commissioner Copenhaver, obviously you were not there, but myself and Commissioner Lindsay felt that we had addressed and dealt with that properly, but according to the statute, It has to go back through a public hearing. It's not just as simple as an opt-in, opt-out program for the title of transfer. So as soon as they get done with what they're doing the next 2 to 3 weeks, that'll probably be coming back to us to eliminate that or to go through the process of the public hearing to deal with the title of transfer. And I went to then the Dolores meeting last night. It was kind of a short 2-hour meeting. It was the last meeting for the 4 of their seated members. And they are gonna kind of put everything else on hold for the new council to be seated in the next 2 weeks and take over the helm. And some of the issues that they were discussing were the CDOT grant for their Flanders Parks restroom, their CDPHE audit for their exercise equipment for adults, and then their DOLA workforce housing preliminary planning grant, and then their CPW fishing grant. So those are some of the things that were left on the table for the new council to deal with as they come in the next 2 weeks. And with that, that concludes my report. All right. Anything else, gentlemen?
Seeing nothing left on the agenda, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn the April 12th meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.